Good morning, people. This is Jonathan Mann, aka the Nappy Headed Assassin, aka I am Manny's son, aka the world's football prognosticator, aka the Catman. And welcome to the week 7 edition of the Catmann Picketh. For those who might be checking me out for the first time on YouTube or Twitch or Twitter, this is my weekly prediction show. I go through games, just give a little bit of analysis, and I pick the upcoming games. Um, for those who do not know me, I am a diehard Philadelphia Eagle fan, so it's hard for me to pick against the Eagles. So we'll see if I'll be able to pick against the Eagles this week. But I try not to see things through a eagle colored glass, so to speak. Um, as you see at the bottom of the screen, that is my overall record for the year. You see, I was 61-33 so far for the season. Last week, I went 9-5, pretty decent week. Not as great as the week that I had prior to that. Previously, my week, the week before that, I was 13-3. Last week, I was 9-5. Uh, Touch base of last week's games. The games that I got incorrect last week. I did have the Eagles over the Bucks. I had Cleveland over Arizona. I had the Patriots over Dallas. I had Denver over the Raiders. I also had who else did I have? Denver over the Raiders, Cleveland over Arizona, New England over Dallas. Oh, I also had Detroit over Cincinnati. So those were the 5 games that I got incorrect, which was the Bucks beating the Eagles, Arizona beating Cleveland, Dallas beating New England, the Raiders beating Denver, and Detroit beating Cincinnati. Good week. I coming off of a little bit of a bad mood. Diehard Penn State fan. And those who follow college football will know that my Nittany Lions got beat by a hapless Illinois team. 9 overtimes. It was just a pathetic thing to watch. It was one of the worst things that I've seen in a very long time. I'm not going to talk much about that, but I am hopefully have a jovial mood, and hopefully my football weekend will get better. Full disclosure, I had on Thursday, I did pick Denver over Cleveland, so I'm already starting off the week 0-1, and we're going to get right to the picks. And one last thing before I get started. Those can, if you want to follow me, IG, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, both are Catman Do Sports, CATMANNDO Sports, one word, and also John Man Baby for those um, social media spots. On Twitch, you can follow me and watch some of the things that I do at John Man Baby. But without further ado, we'll get this thing started. Get these picks up and running. Give my little breakdown. And the first game we're going to talk about today is Washington going to Green Bay. Green Bay is a 8.5-point favorite. Over and under is 49 points. Last week, the Washington football team got blown out by Kansas City, 31-13. It was a pretty close game in the first half. Second half, it was all Kansas City. Green Bay last week pulled off a close one in Chicago against the Bears, beat them 24-14. Now, excuse me. Now, last time these two teams played was 2019, and the Packers beat the Washington football team 20-15. Washington, they're averaging 22 points, 23 points a game, which is 21st in the league. I'm sorry, let me backtrack, and I digress on all that. We're going to do this points. We're going to do this per game because there have been a bye week, so we're going to do this per game. Um, offensively, I'm sorry. Offensively, Washington. I'm sorry. I'm over there messing up. Can't even read what I'm seeing. Offensively, Washington is 24th in the league in total yards per game at 336 yards per game. Passing yards per game, Washington is 24th at around 230 yards per game. Rushing per game, yards per game, Washington is 19th in the league with 106 yards per game. Rushing yards per attempt, that's what I like to look at. Offensively, Washington is in the middle of the pack at 17th, 4.1 yards per carry. Also, Washington's offense this year, scoring, they are averaging they're averaging about 23 points a game, like I said earlier, which is 21st in the league. Their third down conversion rate, Washington is at 27th in the league, only converting 34% of their third down opportunities, their red zone opportunities. Washington is 14th in the league with around 63%. Now with Green Bay is averaging. Green Bay is averaging 343 yards per game, which is 23rd in the league. Passing yards per game, Green Bay is 21st in the league with 234 yards per game. Rushing per game, the Packers are averaging 109 yards per game, which is 17th in the league. Yards per carry, the Packers are 16th in the league at 4.2 yards per carry. And if you notice, Washington and Green Bay are pretty much in the same spot as far as offensive stats. Now, Green Bay in the red zone is converting 58% of their red zone opportunities, which is 22nd in the league, and their third down percentage, they are 15th in the league at 40%. Now, defensively, this is where between the two teams is where there is a difference. Yards per game, Green Bay is 4th in the league, only giving up 315 yards per game. Passing yards per game, Green Bay is 4th in the league, giving up only 206 yards per game. Rushing yards per game, Green Bay is 13th in the league, giving them 108 yards per game, but they're only they're only 9th in the league in giving up yards per carry at 4.1. Now, defensive defense of I'm sorry. I'm over here choking to death. Defense of third down Um, third down defense, third down percentage defense. Can I get it out? Goodness, rough night, early morning. Third down percentage, Green Bay is 24th in the league, 44% in the league, 44%. And in the red zone, their red zone defense is completely last. 100% of their opponents' opportunities um, have ended up in scores. Green Bay is only given up though. Green Bay is in the bottom third or in the middle of the packet in defensive scoring, only giving up 23 points per game. With all that said, I like Green Bay to blow out Washington. Washington's defense is just not as good as advertised. Tough place to play in Lambeau. I don't offensively, even though they're similar in regards to what they have been doing offensively, Washington and Green Bay. Green Bay is a little bit more consistent with their offense. Washington just is a lot of inconsistencies, and they've been beaten down last few weeks. So I have Green Bay beating Washington. Next game I want to talk about is Baltimore and Cincinnati. Baltimore and Cincinnati. Excuse me. Baltimore and Cincinnati. And with Baltimore is favorite, 6.5 points. Favorites over and under is 47. Home game for Baltimore. They're playing at M&T Bank Stadium last week. Baltimore blew out the Chargers. Nobody expected that. Defense was phenomenal. Surprisingly, offense was able to make some plays, but they completely shut down the Chargers. The game was over pretty much at kickoff. Cincinnati last week blew out the hapless Detroit Lions. Joe Burrow had a pretty decent game. The running attack was solid. Got over 140 yards on the ground against hapless Detroit. But the big game for Detroit, the big game for Cincinnati last week was easily Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is looking like the top rookie wide receiver in the league. He had some issues during preseason. Those issues look long, far, and gone. Those issues look long, far, and gone. And last time these two teams played was last game of the season last year, where Baltimore blew out Cincinnati 38-3. Joe Burrow did not play in that game. Baltimore has won the last 5 meetings between them and Cincinnati. Cincinnati is averaging 25 points per game, which is 11th in the league. Offensively, yards per game. Yards per game. Cincinnati is 21st in the league with 344.5 yards per game. Passing yards per game. Cincinnati is 18th with 238 yards per game. Rushing, Cincinnati is 20th with 106 yards per game. Cincinnati is averaging, believe it or not, a meager 3.9 yards per carry. They do have decent backs. It seemed like that number would be a little bit higher at 3.9. They on third down, their third down percentage, Cincinnati is at the bottom or I'm sorry, in the middle of the pack at 40.5%. Red zone percentage for Cincinnati, they're third in the league, 83% of their scores, 83% of their trips in the red zone has led to scores. Now, defensively for Green Bay, I'm sorry, for Cincinnati. Cincinnati's eighth in the league with 331 yards per game. Passing, Cincinnati. Passing Cincinnati is 13th in the league, giving them 240 yards per game. Rushing, Cincinnati is seventh in the league. Jeez, better than I thought. They're giving up only 90.5 yards per game. Their third down defense. Cincinnati is 17th in the league with 41%, and their red zone defense, they are 10th in the league at 53%. They're giving up, they're fifth in the league, giving up only 18.5 points per game. So with those inconsistencies as far as their defensive stats on third down, they have not given up a lot of points. As for Baltimore offensively, they are averaging 28 points per game, which is seventh in the league. They're 266 yards per game, which is 11th in the league. 155 yards per game, which is fourth in the league. Defensively, they're giving up 277 yards passing per game, which is 25th. And rushing, they're giving up only 82 yards per game, which is third in the league. With their third down offense, which is surprising to me. Third down conversion. Baltimore is at the bottom of the league in 23rd, 37.7%. But their red zone offense, they're fifth in the league, scoring at a 71% clip. With all that said, I have Baltimore beating Kansas City. Look, I'm just all over the place. I have Baltimore beating Cincinnati. I believe it's going to be a double-digit win for Baltimore. Lamar Jackson is looking like the MVP. And that offense is clicking. That passing attack, for those that say that he can't throw or whatever, is finally coming into fruition. And he's making that offense go. Next game I want to talk about is the Tennessee Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs. Tennessee and Kansas City. This game is being played at Nissan Stadium in Tennessee. Believe it or not, Kansas City is a 5.5 point favorite on the road, which I believe that's a little bit shocking to me. I think they believe more with Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes than they do Mike Vrabel and Tannehill and Derrick Henry. Kansas City is averaging about 31 points per game, which is fifth in the league. They're giving up 29 points per game, which is 28th in the league. Tennessee is sort of in the same boat. They're averaging around 28 points per game, which is eighth, but they're also giving up about 27 points per game, which is 24th. Passing, Kansas City, 308 yards per game, second in the league. Rushing yards, 125 yards, which is 10th in the league. People say that Andy Reid doesn't like to run the ball, but Andy Reid knows that he needs to run the ball, which that memo will go to Philadelphia. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Kansas City is giving up 277 yards passing, which is 25th in the league, and 133 yards on the ground, which is 27th in the league. So you can pretty much do whatever you want with Kansas City's defense. With as far as Tennessee's defense, they are giving up 276 yards per game, which is 24th, and 107 yards per game, which is ninth. Last week, Tennessee they beat Buffalo in a pretty close game. But a lot of people thought that Buffalo was going to win, but Tennessee came back, dominated the fourth quarter. Derrick Henry showed why he's the best running back in the league. He was completely unstoppable. Um, he is my lead horse as far as MVP, right above Kyler Murray. So it was a great game for Tennessee last week, and the defense was a little bit shaky, and it's been shaky all year. So it's not surprising that they gave up 31 points, but it was surprising that they did score 34 points on a very stout Buffalo defense. Now, Kansas City, and I spoke about this earlier against Washington, they blew out Washington. The defense looked pretty good in the second half against Washington. They was able to close that out 31-13. With all that said, Kansas City favored to beat Tennessee. In Tennessee, I am picking the Tennessee Titans. I believe they will win the game by about 6 points. Derrick Henry is just too much of a load for a team that can't stop the run. I think it's going to be Derrick Henry up the middle, around the side, over the top, you name it. Kansas City can't do nothing, won't be able to do anything with him. They can have 13 in the box, and they won't be able to stop him. Next game I want to talk about is the Carolina Panthers and the New York Football Giants. This game is being played in the Meadowlands. Carolina is a 3-point favorite on the road. Over under is 43. 3-point favorite on the road. Last time these two teams played, Carolina played them in 2018, beat them by 2, 33-31. Carolina has won the last 3 meetings between these two teams. Last week, the Giants got humiliated by the Rams. It was a blowout. Giants were spotted 3 points in the first quarter, then 28-point explosion in the second quarter by the Rams, and that was just pretty much all she wrote. That is the second consecutive blowout loss for the Giants. They got blown out by the Cowboys the week previous to that. It's not looking good. The Giants are just looking like the worst team in the league. And granted, they have had their share of injuries, but the improvements that they supposedly made during the offseason to try to offset and have some depth to that team, it's just not working. So I don't know if it's a Joe Judge thing, a lack of talent thing. They definitely was not predicted to finish last in the NFC East, but it looks like they're going to finish last in the NFC East. Carolina last week lost a tough one to Minnesota in overtime. It was a hard-fought game. They came back in the fourth quarter, got the game into overtime, but they just couldn't slow down Minnesota in overtime. So that's 2 losses in a row for Carolina. Carolina is trending the wrong way after the hot, starting off the season 3-0, whatever the case may be, 3-1 or whatever. Whatever the case may be, but back-to-back losses. It was back-to-back. Started out 2-0, back-to-back losses to Minnesota and Philadelphia. Carolina, they are averaging 24 points a game, which is 16th in the league. They're giving up 20 points per game, which is only 6th in the league. They're averaging 244 yards per game, 15th in the league. Sam Darnold is starting to look like Sam Darnold of the Jets. They need to straighten that up. That's part of the reason for the slide. They are averaging 109 yards per game. No McCaffrey. But Hubbard has been running the ball pretty decently. So I'm pretty sure that number should go up, especially after today. They're 17th in the league in rushing. Defensively, they are giving up only 196 yards through the year, which is second in the league. And they're stout in the run. They're in the middle of the pack, 111 yards, which is 15th in the league. The Giants, they're only scoring 19 points per game, which is 27th in the league. But they're giving up pretty much 30 points per game, which is 29th in the league. And you can't win like that. When you're giving up 30 points per game, you're not going to win many ball games. Hence the 1-5 record. 270 yards per game offensively, which is passing rather, 10th in the league. Rushing yards per game is 89th, which is hideous. When it was 89, which is hideous, which is 25th. Defensively, they're giving up 137 yards on the ground, which is 29th, and they're giving up 264 through the air, which is 22nd. Those are some horrid numbers. With that said, Carolina 3-point favorites. Over and under is 43. I would honestly take the under this game, but I would definitely take Carolina. I have Carolina beating the Giants, and to be totally honest with you, this was one of the toughest games that I went through. That I was going back and forth, and it was almost pretty much a coin flip. Believe it or not, it was almost a coin flip because I think it's a winnable game for the Giants. It's one of those winnable games, but I don't have faith in the Giants defense, and I definitely don't have faith in the Giants offense. Next game I want to talk about Patriots, Jets, AFC East matchup. One team is 1-4, the other team is 2-4. So there's a half game between the Jets and the Patriots. That's on paper, but that's just in the standings. But on paper, it just seems like that New England is that much more better of a team than the Jets. New England at home, 7-point favorites with the Jets. I'm surprised it was not a little bit higher, to be totally honest with you. Zach Wilson is looking like a rookie. Corey Davis is stepping up, playing some big-time football. They're not getting much of a running game with Michael Carter. Hot and cold, a little inconsistent. New England has won the last 5 matchups between these two teams. Last time they played was September of this year, and New England beat them down 25-6. That's why I'm kind of surprised that it's only a 7-point spread between the two. Jets is only scoring 13 points per game, which is completely last in the league. You can't beat anybody scoring 13 points a game. They're giving up 24 points a game, which is 18th, which is reasonable. They're in the middle of the pack giving up, but they're just not scoring any points. What's crazy is that what's crazy is that defensively they've been playing solid. Not great, but not horrible. It's just offensively, they're just completely horrid. 193 yards passing yards per game, which is 30th in the league. 74 rushing yards per game, which is 31st in the league. Defensively, they're giving up 249 yards through the air, which is 17th, and the rush defense is 21st in the league, giving up 120 yards. Now the Patriots, believe it or not, are not that much better as far as offensively. They're in the bottom third scoring points. They're only averaging around 21 points per game, which is 24th. They're giving up 21 points per game, which is ninth. 235 yards through the air offensively, 19th in the league. Running game is pretty much non-existent. They're 27th, rushing 86 yards per game. Defensively, they're 16th against the pass with 246 yards, and against the rush, they're 112 yards, which is 17th in the league. Like I stated, Patriots are a 7-point favorite. I will say that the Patriots will win by at least 10 points. I have New England beating the Jets. For those who are checking me out for the very first time, you can see at the bottom where you can follow me: IG, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter at John Man Baby, and also Catmann Do Sports. Both of those places where you can see me and find me all my content, my picks, so on and so forth, past picks. If you want to verify my record or you're bored or whatever, and see some of those things. Also, just wanted to touch base is that throughout the week, Wednesday, Thursday, I will be doing an Eagles breakdown. I was trying to do it last week, but technical difficulties. I've been having technical difficulties because I live in the boonies, so I had to get a couple things straightened out. Talk to my providers like, "Yo, I'm paying you this money. How come my ish is not working properly?" And it was like, "You know something, son? You're in the country. And when you're in the country, you do not get the same type of support if you did when you lived in civilization." Well, that's what I got from all of that when they told me, when I spoke to them last week. So hopefully I have somebody coming out this week to take a look at my stuff, because I am paying them $1.50 more than I should for the service. And if they get everything straightened out, hopefully I can bring some Eagle content where I break down, the Eagles wins, lost games, things that I've seen on tape when I watch the All 22, give my opinion on why they won or lost or whatever the case may be. Next game I want to talk about is the Miami Dolphins and the Atlanta Falcons. Game is being played in Hard Rock Stadium, but the Falcons are a 2.5-point favorite on the road. Over and under is 47.5 for those who believe in that stuff. Last week, Atlanta, in a hard-fought football game, slipped through and beat the Jets over across wherever they played. It was a pretty good game. The Jets hung tough, but it was a battle of two bad teams, and the less worse team won. And Miami last week, I'm pretty sure. I'm sorry, that was 2 weeks ago. But Miami last week lost to Jacksonville, gave Jacksonville the very first win. Jacksonville looked pretty good all the way through the game, and it was able to pull that out. And I guess they got some of the heat off of Urban Meyer. So I'm pretty sure he was happy about that. He was celebrating like he won a national championship. But this is not, Ohio State or Florida or Bowling Green and all that mess. So Tua played solid. Dolphins are going through Deshaun Watson rumors. Um, there rumors are saying that they're in the mix to be trading for Deshaun uh, Watson, which is crazy. I just don't see how teams are just giving up on these young quarterbacks like super quick. But I guess that's the nature of the beast now. Money is not tied in as much with these first round draft picks due to the new CBA is all slotted, so it's easy to walk away from these quarterbacks early. Call it a Josh Rosen effect when Arizona just kicked Josh Rosen to the curb, and he hasn't been able to latch on or get a starting job since. Uh, with um, with that said, Miami was averaging 16 and a half points per game, which is 29th in the league. Giving up almost 30 points per game, which is 29th in the league. That's not good. Passing yards, 218 yards, 28th in the league. I guess that's the reason why they're looking for another quarterback. Running the ball, they're completely last in the league at 71 yards per game. Defensively, they're horrible as well. 292 yards per game throughout the year, uh, through the year that they're giving up, and that's 29th. Rushing, they're giving up 125 yards per game, which is 22nd in the league. Atlanta is not much better. Atlanta is giving up 29, close to 30 points per game, which is 31st in the league. They're scoring 21 points per game, which is 22nd. That is a little bit under about mediocre as you can get. 254 yards passing, 12th in the league, 91 yards on the ground, which is 24th. Defensively, 244 yards, 14th in the league, 108 yards against the run, which is 12th in the league. Kyle Pitts is the leading receiver for the Falcons. He's been stepping up, starting to look good. Mike Davis is running the ball, here and there, but Cordell Patterson in his spots is looking like a beast in his role, whether they're flexing him out wide or they have him, playing running back or put him in the slot. Wherever they're putting him, they found the right usage for him. With with Miami, Tua coming off the injury, a little bit shaky. Mike Gesicki is the leading receiver for Miami, 300 yards, 342 yards. But they got a nice young wide receiver core. Waddle's looking like the real deal. Gaskin, a little bit more production for him. Last time these two played was 2017. Miami won 20-17. Ironic. Miami's won the last two meetings between these two teams. 2013, they won 27-23. This was a very tough game for me to pick. Everything is pointing for an Atlanta. Actually, an Atlanta route, to be totally honest with you, no matter how bad that defense is, they just look better offensively than Miami. And both of these cities are dear to my heart because I lived in both of these cities at some point of my life. And I have family, a lot of family in both of these cities. So, with that said, I have Miami pulling off the upset against Atlanta. Atlanta's defense is just that bad, and bad defenses don't travel. And I think Tua I think Tua will be a little bit better, getting his sea legs from under him, coming back from injury. He looked solid last week in the loss. So I think he's going to take a next step. He knows he has to. He needs to calm down those rumors with Deshaun Watson. Next game. Los Angeles Rams and the Detroit Lions. All right, we're in the 4 o'clock games. Rams, or 4 o'clock Eastern games. I'm in the Central. And the Is You Ain't studio. 4 o'clock. Rams, Lions. Game played out in LA, SoFi Stadium. Rams are 15-point favorites, which is crazy high. 5-1 Rams versus the 0-6 Lions. Last week, the Lions got blown out by Cincinnati. It was just a pathetic showing. Jared Goff was challenged by his coach, Dan Campbell, saying that he needs to step up, which he does. He needs to step up. They didn't get in. They scored 11 garbage points. That game was over at kickoff. And the Rams last week, they blew out the very hapless Giants. They did what they were supposed to do. They went into New York and just exploded and just put them to sleep in the second quarter and just coasted the rest of the way. Last 5 times these teams played, the Rams won. The last time they played, Detroit has won the previous time. The Rams then won 3. So Rams won 4 out of 5 against Detroit in their last 5 games. Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford, the reunion. They're both quarterbacks traded for each other, going against their former teams. Jared Goff is just, you can see why he's been traded. Matthew Stafford has looked pretty good in Sean McVay's offense. Jared Goff, leading receiver for Detroit, is T.J. Hawkinson, tight end. Solid year so far. Jamal Williams running the ball for Detroit. They just need to find something and get something going consistent with Detroit. The Rams with Matthew Stafford. Cooper Kupp is probably one of the top 5 receivers this year in the league. He is showing out. Darrell Henderson is looking solid. That offense overall is looking pretty good for the Rams. The Rams are 6th in points scored per game. That's 29.8 points per game, so about 30 points per game. They are giving up 21 points per game, which is 9th in the league. Passing yardage is 297 yards per game, which is 4th. Rushing there in the bottom 3rd, 103 yards, which is 21st. Defensively, 259 yards per game, which is 21st, and 107 yards rushing per game, which is 9th. Detroit, they're only scoring 18 points per game, 28th in the league. That is pathetic. Jared Goff is looking like a quarterback, looking like a coach killer. Looking like a quarterback killer too as well. They're giving up 28.7 points per game. That has nothing to do with Jared Goff, which is 25th in the league. Another one of these teams that they can't score and they can't stop other teams from scoring. That's the MO of Detroit. They're 25th in passing with 229 yards per game. Rushing, they are 23rd. In the league with 91 yards per game. Can't get it done that way, people. 252 yards, 19th defensively through the air, 132 yards on the ground defensively, 26th in the league. So You know I'm going with this. I'm going with the Rams. I will be completely shocked if Detroit is within 10 points. It's one of the very few games I think that a blowout was predicted by Vegas that the team that was favored is going to cover. I believe the Rams are definitely going to cover against Detroit. I think Detroit is going to come out with a little fire in the beginning of the game. Then after that, I think it's a done deal. I think it's a wrap. Next game, my beloved Philadelphia Eagles versus the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders come into the game 4-2. My Eagles are 2-4. Last week, the Raiders, after going through all that John Gruden stuff, comes out on the road and beats the Broncos. It looked pretty good in the process. Derek Carr is looking pretty good, having a pretty good season. Derek Carr is having a pretty good season. They were able to jump out on Denver early last week, and Denver tried to make things much more manageable towards the end of the game. Henry Ruggs is the leading receiver for the Raiders. Josh Jacobs, they just cannot run the ball with this kid. Just struggling running the ball. The last time these two teams played, the Eagles beat them in 2017 on Christmas, 19-10. Points scored per game. Raiders, 24.5 points per game, which is 13th. They're also giving up 24 points per game, which is 16th. 305 yards through the air offensively, which is third, and 79 yards on the ground, which is 30th. That's not getting it done. 222 yards defensively through the air will place them at 10th. And on the ground, they're only giving up, well, not only, but they are giving up 130 yards per game, which is 25th in the league. My Eagles, the offense is just horrible. Play calling is sad. They're running the RPOs a little bit too much, in my opinion. Trying to make Jalen Hurts Superman. Coach is not putting him in position to succeed. They're not making things easy for him. They got a lot on his plate, and it's starting to show. Hopefully, the young man doesn't crack, and hopefully, the coach sees the error of his ways and mix in some true running plays with the running backs. Eagles are averaging 23 points per game, which is 20th in the league. They are giving up 25 points per game, which is 23rd in the league. 232 yards passing, which is 23rd in the league, and 113 yards on the ground, which is 15th in the league. And I'm pretty sure that's mostly Jalen Hurts. 211 yards per game defensively, and it's passing. 211-yard passing defense, which is 5th in the league. But they're giving up 135 yards on the ground, which is 28th. And the Eagles just can't get off the field on third down. They can't make any crucial stops. Quarterbacks are looking like greatness against them. So hopefully we can hopefully they can get those things turned around and straightened out and be a much more productive and successful team. With all that said, the Raiders are only 3-point favorites at home. So I guess the homer in me will be picking the Philadelphia Eagles. 3 points for a home team. You automatically get 3 points from Vegas. I guess that's what they usually say. So for them to get 3 points, and they already get 3 points on the house, sounds like Vegas knows something internally that we don't. and I am going to go with Vegas on this just due to the point spread. And I have the Eagles straight up beating the Las Vegas Raiders. Next game, Arizona versus Houston. Arizona versus Houston. And Arizona is an 18-point favorite at home. Arizona 6-0, Houston 1-5. Arizona last week they blew out Cleveland. That's a game that I thought Cleveland was, had a good chance to win. Baker got hurt, but it didn't matter if Baker was 195% healthy. Arizona just showing why, as of right now, they are the best team in the NFL. You are what your record says you are. That according to, ironically, a former Cardinal coach, Dennis Green, but I am not going to crown them yet to stay with that theme. Houston last week played the Colts and got blown out. They made Carson Wentz look like Carson Wentz of old, and which is good and bad for me as an Eagle fan because we need that draft pick. So hopefully, Carson can play to his maximum abilities, but hopefully the Colts do not win as many games. Another story for another day. Excuse me. Another story another day. Now, last time these two teams played was November 19th, 2017, the 4-year rotation. Houston beat Arizona 31-21. The series is tied 2-2. They played 4 times. Both teams won twice. Houston, Davis Mills, quarterbacking, rookie, going through a lot. And he's looking like a rookie. But Brandon Cooks is looking like a great wide receiver, and he's still putting up decent numbers despite of not having an ultimate quarterback to throw the ball to him. Mark Ingram running the ball looks solid. He looks solid, but he does not look like someone who can move the needle or change things for the Houston Texans rather. Arizona, Kyler Murray. I mentioned previously that he's my second in the MVP voting, behind, like I have an MVP vote, but he's behind Derrick Henry in my opinion, and right above Lamar Jackson. Those are my top 3 MVP picks. But DeAndre Hopkins looking pretty good, pretty sharp. Already has 6 touchdowns. Chase Edmonds, when they mix in the run, when they do try to run a little bit, Chase is looking very, very solid, a solid back. Houston scoring 15 points per game, which is 31st in the league. They're giving up 28 points per game, which is 25th in the league. Can't win like that, people. 207 yards per game, which is 29th in the league. Rushing 87 yards per game, which is 26th. Defensively, they're giving up 141 yards per game. 141. And defensively, they're giving up 249 passing yards per game, which is 18th in the league. Now, Vegas had this as an 18-point win. This is another game that I think Arizona should be able to cover. I'm going with Arizona, and I believe Arizona should win by 21 points. And I would definitely take the over in this game, which is 47.5, because I believe Arizona is going to score that many points. I don't believe Houston is going to score that many points, but I believe between the two, they're going to combine and score over 47 points. All right. Tampa Bay and Chicago. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Chicago Bears. Last week, Chicago lost a tough one to Green Bay, um, where Aaron Rodgers said, "We own you. I still own you." The ultimate smack talk from the quarterback to Chicago. Chicago looked hapless, but they got a young quarterback, and the young quarterback is growing, and a young quarterback is learning. It's a shame that we think that these quarterbacks are supposed to be polished by now. Just like after 4 games, they're supposed to be the greatest thing on earth, and that's definitely not the case with some of these young quarterbacks. They need to develop, they need to grow, but we're stunting the growth. We have some people that just develop quicker than others, and that kind of skewed reality. That skewed reality um, with all that. Um, Chicago, Darnell Mooney, leading receiver. Uh, he's dealing with the inconsistent quarterback play, but besides that, he's looking pretty good. Those are solid numbers for the most part. Tom Brady. I mean, what else? What else to say? Um, he's the goat. Last week, Tampa Bay beat my Eagles 28-22. Uh, game should have been shouldn't have been that close, but I think Tampa Bay was kind of toying with the Eagles. That's what it looked like. The Eagles could not stop the run under any circumstances. They couldn't. So it was just an ugly, ugly, ugly game. But Brady had a solid game. So did Fournette. Fournette was just unstoppable in the third and fourth quarter. It was just they couldn't. The Eagles just couldn't get them off the field. Um, Mike Evans, leading receiver, believe it or not, and he didn't have the greatest game last week. That's just how much talent this Tampa Bay Buck team have. Fournette still pounding the rock for Tampa Bay. Last time these two teams played, Chicago won. Matter of fact, the last 2 times these teams played. Last game was October 8th, 2020. Chicago beat Tampa 2019. And this week, Chicago, 30th in the league in scoring offense, 16 points per game. They're giving up 20 points per game, which is 8th. Passing yards per game, 117 yards per game, which is 32nd. That is horrible. 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 They are averaging 129 yards per game, which is 7th, which is decent. Defensively, only giving up 218 yards per game, which is 8th, and 112 yards per game on the ground, which is 16th. The Bucks, 33 points per game, which is 3rd in the league. Points allowed, 24 points per game, which is surprisingly high with all that talent. That secondary still getting abused, which is 16th in the league. 340 yards passing per game, which is 1st in the league, but they're only running the ball at and getting 85 yards on the ground, which is 28th. Defensive run, 1st in the league, 54 yards. Passing the ball, 280, 27th in the league. Like I stated, that Tampa Bay's 12.5-point favorites at home, and I believe they will be able to cover that barely. I'm expecting a double-digit win, but I'm not expecting a super-duper blowout I think Chicago hangs tough a little bit, but Tampa Bay will pull out and will pull the game off. Sunday night game, 49ers and the Colts. The 49ers are coming off bye week 2 weeks ago. They lost a tough one to Arizona. Offense was very, very stagnant. Defense looked pretty good. The Colts last week, they're coming off the beatdown of Houston, 31-3. Like I touched on earlier, Carson Wentz looked decent. The Titans made Carson Wentz look like a very, 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 very good quarterback. Now, excuse me. Now, Michael Pittman is the leading receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. Having a pretty decent season. Jonathan Taylor is Jonathan Taylor, having a real solid season. Jimmy G is back. He's playing. He's healthy. He'll be starting. Trey Lance is hurt, but Trey Lance was looking hot and cold. Deebo Samuel is looking like one of the best wide receivers in the league. Mitchell is running the ball, but without much consistency. The Colts averaging 23 points per game, which is 19th, giving up 22 points per game, which is 11th. They're +7 in the takeaway differential, which is weird for a team that's 2-4. 243 yards, which is 16th in the league passing, 124 yards on the ground, which is 11th. Defensively, they're giving up 111 yards on the ground, which is 14th. And through the air, they're giving up 255 yards, which is 20th. 49ers, 23 points per game, which is 17th. They're giving up 24 points per game, which is 15th. 246 yards through the air would put them at 14th. Rushing yards, 122 on the ground, which put them at 12th. Defensively, can't stop anybody on the ground, giving up 113 yards per game, which is 18th. But through the air, they've been playing solid. 216 yards per game, and that places them at 7th in the league. 49ers are 4-point favorites at home. Over and under is 44.5. I had the 49ers beating the Colts, but I have the Colts covering. I think it's going to be a 3-point game, last second or last minute field goal, something to that effect. The over and under, I would take the over in this game. And last but not least, is tomorrow's Monday night game. Seattle and the Saints. Saints, 5-point favorites at home. Last week, the Saints, or 2 weeks ago, the Saints beat the Washington football team, beat them by 14. The Seahawks last week lost a tough one, 23-20. They had Geno Smith playing quarterback. Russell Wilson is still hurt. They're trying to get him back in action real soon. Seattle. DK Metcalf is DK Metcalf. He's still looking good, looking solid. Chris Carson, who has been hurt. So they're going by running back by committee led by DJ Dallas, one of my favorite names in football. DJ Dallas and MC Fort Worth, for what it's worth. And that's my last cornball moment of the day. Last time these two teams played, New Orleans won 33-27. Matter of fact, New Orleans won the last 2 times, and Seattle won the previous 3 times as they met. Seattle, horrible. 18th in the league in scoring at 23 points per game, giving up 25 points per game, which is 20th. Passing offense, only 233 yards, which is 22nd. Running the ball, 110 yards per game, which is 16th. Defensively, oh my goodness, they cannot stop the run. 140 yards per game they are giving up defensively, and rushing, passing and giving up 292 yards, which is 28th. The Saints, they're scoring 25 points per game, which is 10th. But defensively, they're only giving up 18 points per game, which is 3rd. 169 yards passing per game, which is 31st, which is hideous, even though that's done by design to keep Jameis from being famous and throwing the ball away and giving it to the other team. So he's been playing solid this year. And Coach McVay is making sure to keep the reins on Jameis. They are getting 125 yards. 125 yards on the ground. Defensively, they're giving up 275 yards, which is 23rd in the air. And running, they're giving up the ball on the ground, 79 yards, which is phenomenal. And that puts them 2nd in the league. With that said, the Saints are 5-point favorites. Over under is 43. I believe that the Saints will beat the Seahawks by 10. And that's your Sunday night game. Tomorrow night, I will be going through my Monday night pick. I'm sorry. That was my Monday night game. I'm sorry. Tomorrow, I will go more into depth for the reason why of my Monday night pick. So check that out. But like I said, I have the Saints beating the Seahawks. Kickoff is in about 2 minutes. So thank you for those who went through this and checked me out. I am the Catmann, the world's worst football prognosticator, with a record of 61-33. Hopefully, I can get that in a better state, get that up some more. 65% win percentage is not bad. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with 65. I'm going to take those numbers to Vegas. 65%. If I bet like this at Vegas, 65%, I might not have to work a real job ever again. So enjoy your day of football. I'll look forward to seeing y'all a couple times this week. Monday, Thursday, and possibly Friday. When I'll talk about today's game tomorrow, a little bit more of a preview of tomorrow night's game. My name is John Mann, aka the Catman, aka I Am Manny's son, aka the nappy-headed assassin, aka the world's worst football prognosticator, aka the Catman. Have a safe, wonderful day. Enjoy football, and I'll see you good people later on this week. I'm out.